Good morning and afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. We're just going to give it a few minutes as people come on in, and we will get started shortly. Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Ellen Canali, Head of Communications here at SDF. And we are going to kick off our Q4 quarter in review. So just really quickly, here's today's agenda. First, CEO and Executive Director Denelle Dixon will recap some of our noteworthy highlights from Q4. Justin Rice, VP of Ecosystem, will go through network stats and cover North Star 1, which is about building towards a future-proof and sustainable stellar. Raja Chakravorti, SDF's Chief Business Officer, who you all met last webinar, will cover North Star 2, how we focus on everyday financial services. And Jordan Edelstein, a Chief Marketing Officer, will take us through North Star 3, how we ensure a trustworthy technology stack that advances adoption. Then we're going to bring Denelle back, and she's going to give us a sneak peek of the Foundation's 2025 strategy. Just a reminder, we will leave time at the end for your questions, and the earlier you ask, the more likely we'll be able to get to them. So please submit them throughout the call using the Q&A menu option in Zoom. That's the agenda, and I will hand it over to Denelle to get us started.
Hello, everyone. Needless to say, 2025 is off to a pretty awesome start, and we're excited about what's ahead. But before we dive into what's next, we want to take a moment to look back at Q4 and what an awesome year 2024 was for the Stellar Network. First, a quick reminder of our current roadmap and North Stars. The involvement of many will help drive toward a future-proof and sustainable Stellar. Second, SDF prioritizes the focus on everyday financial services in pursuit of our mission. And third, SDF's contributions in building a trustworthy technology stack that advances adoption. So these North Stars continue to guide us closer to SDF's mission of enabling greater access to the global financial system by redefining who has access to everyday financial services. So how did Q4 and 2024 shake out? Let me hit the highlights. This year, we surpassed 18 billion total transactions on Stellar. 18 billion. That number is a signal that Stellar has product market fit. People are using it, and that usage continues to grow exponentially each year. We saw growth with Stellar ranking the 9th fastest growing ecosystem, according to Electric Capital's developer report. That's pretty cool. For a chain that's been around for 10 years, this shows huge momentum. So if you keep building, so will your ecosystem. The first Stellar and Sorbonne collaboration went live, with Meru and Lobster wallets integrating the Blend protocol to give users new functionality within the native mobile apps, driving Sorbonne user growth. We saw another strong quarter for the enterprise and matching funds, which invested over $6 million in both exciting newcomers and longtime ecosystem partners, building the next chapter of financial services. And in Q4, we saw substantial growth in total Sorbonne TVL, growing 640% from 7 million to 52 million. We want that to be higher, but that was a pretty good number to reach in Q4. So before I hand it over to Justin, I just want to say a few words about 2024. It was a big year on Stellar. We saw the launch of smart contracts and ecosystem growth. We expanded our work with the UNHCR into new geographies, including Argentina. We celebrated the network's 10th birthday, saw an all-time high for supply of Franklin Templeton's Benji at roughly 450 into this, welcome Stripe back into the Stellar family, and so much more. This year has strengthened the network, brought new innovation, and has set the ecosystem up to continue to build products that matter in 2025. At the end of the call, I'll take us through how SDF plans to support that growth for 2025. But now I'm going to kick it over to Justin to take us through network stats.
Awesome. Thanks, Denelle. Hi, everyone. I'm Justin Rice, VP of Ecosystem, here to share a look at some key network stats. In addition to running us through all the Q4 stats and a few key metrics to illustrate how Stellar stacks up against the competition, I'll also hit the high notes for all of 2024, so get ready for some big numbers. Now, let's get started. First, let's check in on total addresses on the network. At the end of Q4, there were just over 9 million addresses on the network. That's a number that continues to grow, and as you'll see, it's a big focus for us in 2025, addresses. Now, what can these 9 million addresses access on the network? So one big category, real-world assets. Things like stablecoins, including USDC and EURC, Franklin Templeton Benji, and Wisdom Tree funds. At the end of Q4, real-world asset supply on the network hit $458 million worth. $458 million worth of real-world asset supply. Pretty good. Next, let's look at the real-world asset payment volume, which is something we choose to track because Stellar was designed to improve the global payments landscape. In Q4, the real-world asset payments volume was over $4.1 billion worth, which is up over $1 billion since Q3 and over $2 billion since Q2. So in Q4, we saw more addresses making more payments, which is exactly the kind of data that backs up Stellar's leadership in payments. That brings us to our next metric, total volume of those real-world assets plus XLM. So this is the combo of assets that are tethered to real-world financial instruments or that have network utility. Q4 payment volume of these assets was over $19.1 billion worth. That's the $4 billion I mentioned before, plus payments in XLM. This is a huge jump from Q3 and tracks with the excitement we all saw in November and December throughout the industry. Q4 decentralized exchange, or DEX volume, which measures all the trades that make use of Stellar's built-in order books and liquidity pools, was over $417 million worth. Next up, total operations. Now, operations on Stellar, these are the functions that change the state of the ledger. So payments, trades, smart contract invocations. These are the equivalent of what most networks call transactions. So this number, in other words, it measures throughput, tells us how many things happen on the network overall. And in Q4, there were over 557 million operations. Not too shabby. The last set of metrics measure the decentralization of the network. So last quarterly review, we went from using a community data source to supply the total node count to using an updated survey feature that's actually built into Stellar Core, which gives a more accurate count. And we're going to use this new survey moving forward. So in Q4, we saw an uptick of 508 nodes from 476 in Q3, which signals even more network participation over the last quarter. So more participation, that's good. It helps with the health of the network, the longevity of the network, and it indicates that a lot of projects are engaged enough with Stellar that they're actually opting to run their own infrastructure. 23 of those 508 nodes are categorized as tier 1 validators. That means they meet high operational standards and have earned a high level of network trust, so they're essential to the network health and resilience. And finally, even with more nodes, average ledger close time was 5.93 seconds, which is a no news is good news situation. Things are moving like clockwork. Okay, now on to the comparative metrics. So we are holding Stellar up against some other chains in the industry, Celo, Ethereum, Polygon, Sui, and Solana. And to do this, we do smooth out some of the slight differences in chain vernacular. So for instance, I mentioned Stellar operations equate to what most chains call transactions. So we'll use the common word transactions here. So at the end of Q3, there were over 9 million Stellar addresses, and that means Stellar ranks 6th in total addresses. As I mentioned earlier, this number is going to be a big focus for SDF in 2025, and we definitely want to see it continue to go up. I also mentioned 557 million Stellar transactions in Q3. That puts Stellar 3rd for transactions processed in the quarter. Next, RWA's real-world assets. So according to RWA.xyz, which tracks on-chain RWAs, Stellar continues to hold the number 2 spot for tokenized securities across all chains, right? Not just the select group of 6. Also, according to RWA.xyz, Stellar's total RWA market cap, that includes treasuries, commodities, corporate bonds, and stablecoins, was $458 million worth at the end of Q4, putting Stellar number 3 in the comparison group. For on-chain payments, so not just raw operations, but specifically payments, Stellar comes in 3rd with this group with 162 million payments in Q4. And now all these competitor chains besides Ethereum, they tout cheap fees, but Stellar once again beats them all, had the lowest fees in Q4. In fact, the average fee was just 0.0001 cents, so pretty cheap. Finally, and appropriately, let's end with block time and finality. So Stellar is 5th in the ledger close time rankings at 5.93 seconds in Q4. By design, it requires 0 seconds to finality, which is unbeatable. Thank you, Stellar Consensus Protocol, for that. Now, because Q4 closes out the year, we thought we'd run through the 2024 end of year data. So these are actually some very impressive numbers. So hold on. 2024. There were 2.6 billion operations in 2024, with only $126,016.77 in total network transaction fees. So keeping fees low, that is good. That means more people can use the network. There was $32 billion in total payment volume. There were $10.6 billion in real-world asset payment volume, and the network processed over 18 billion total operations. So it has been an impressive year, a year our ecosystem can be proud of, and that the industry should take note of. So now let's dig into some of the substance behind those numbers. Okay, so the first North Star. The first North Star points out that open participation, innovation, and governance are necessary to ensure a future-proof and sustainable Stellar. And we're seeing that smart contracts have welcomed a whole new wave of development, growth, and adoption of Stellar, and that they're accelerating the future of everyday financial services for more and more real-world users. So what happened in Q4 with Soroban adoption? One of our big goals this year was to drive Soroban adoption among Stellar native wallets, DeFi protocols, and issuers. And in Q4, we hit a few major milestones with regard to this goal. So we saw 2 Stellar wallets, longtime favorite Lobster and newcomer Meru, tap into the Blend protocol to provide direct access to lending and borrowing pools via their mobile apps. This drove significant user adoption and also realized the vision of Soroban, right? Bringing Stellar wallets and users the opportunity of DeFi. It is a big, big win. Alongside these milestones, we saw Blend surpass $15 million in TVL, and 4 other protocols also achieved similar milestones. 2 exceeded the $5 million mark, and 2 exceeded the $1 million mark. This meant that total Stellar smart contract TVL surged 640% from $7 million worth to $52 million worth, which is great. And less than a year from launch, we've seen adoption accelerate as well, right? As of December, Stellar processed over $1 million, over 1 million smart contract transactions. So a lot of smart contract transactions are happening right now on the chain, and it is only up from here, folks. So this is only the beginning, right? 2025 is shaping up to be even better as broader industry momentum continues and as awareness that Stellar supports smart contracts proliferates. Next, let's recap our focus on Soroban security, developer experience, and functionality. So Soroban security has been a huge focus for the team, which is why we created the Soroban Security Audit Bank, which is a first of its kind initiative to distribute up to $1 million in security audit credits in partnership with 6 top-tier audit firms. In Q4, 6 new audits were completed, which means that at this point, all DeFi protocols on mainnet with meaningful value have been audited at least once. That's great. And a year after announcing their intention to build a tool for formally verifying Stellar smart contracts, Certora, the formal verification leader in Web3, launched Sunbeam. Now, none of these milestones can guarantee smart contract security, but they're massive wins for the ecosystem and a testament to our dedication to provide the highest quality security tools available for smart contract developers in the industry. Now, along with security, developer experience is also critical, and we did a ton of work last quarter to help developers build better. To make the docs more accessible, we rolled out Spanish localization and launched the redesign of the homepage. To make it easier to get real-time answers to developer questions, we improved the beloved Stella bot, which now includes threaded replies with context and enhanced code coverage, making use of AI. And we continued integrating with data platforms, including Dune, Nansen, and Artemis, to give builders access to analytical insights, custom reporting, and dashboards based on Stellar data. As for Sorbonne functionality, in early December, validators upgraded the network to Protocol 22, which adds constructors to make it easier and safer for developers to initialize smart contracts. It also adds support for BLS 12381 encryption curves to allow the ecosystem to build innovative privacy solutions like encrypted wallets, as well as scalability solutions like ZK rollups. And all that work that has gone into launching a top-tier smart contracts platform to drive adoption and to build a best-in-class developer experience has really started to pay off. In Q4, Electric Capital's developer report, which evaluates the total Web3 developer landscape, ranks Stellar the 9th fastest growing blockchain ecosystem, with a 6% growth in full-time developers, 33% growth in total developers, and over 500 new developers as of Q4. So the numbers do not lie. Stellar, one of the OG networks, is only getting better with age. This is real momentum, which is better than hype, and we're bringing it with us into 2025. Now let me hand it off to Raja for our next North Star.
Thank you, Justin. Moving along to the next North Star, let's go over what we're doing to focus on everyday financial services. So tokenization is top of mind for SDF, and it's also on the minds of just about everyone else in the space these days. As one of the industry's most watched verticals, Stellar continues to be a leader in this category. In Q4, we got great news that Stellar was listed as one of only 5 qualifying chains for the first Wyoming stablecoin. This would be the first fiat-backed, fully reserved stable token issued by a public entity in the United States. And with the new administration and shifting sentiment, it really might not be the last. Either way, it's great to have Stellar central to the conversation. Additionally, 2 of the key objectives for the quarter were 1, to attract new assets to the network, and 2, improve the infrastructure for future adoption. At Meridian, we announced the Paxos integration with the Stellar network, bringing USDL to Stellar. This integration is well on its way, and I am looking forward to coming back here next quarter to talk about what else we have in the works. Also at Meridian, MasterCard announced it will be integrating the company's crypto credential solution with the Stellar network, simplifying the user experience with payments and crypto transactions. Both of these announcements are a nod to the value proposition of the Stellar network and the adoption that larger institutions are anticipating will come to the network. And we here at Stellar are anticipating exactly the same. Another exciting milestone was the first of its kind financial derivative transaction using Franklin Templeton's Benji token on Stellar as collateral. In November, Nonco and Swap Global completed the transaction showcasing a promising use of tokenized real-world assets as collateral to provide institutional liquidity and market stability. We're looking forward to seeing all the new and innovative uses for institutions in 2025. Now, these are just a few examples of the work we are doing to expand access to trusted versions of widely used currencies and real-world assets on Stellar. But now let's take a look at what makes up our payments portfolio. First, I'm going to touch on ramps and wallets that are key components and differentiators that drive utility on the network for real-world users. Last quarter, the MoneyGram Access solution continued to bring new players and users onto Stellar. 4 new wallets went live with MoneyGram Access: OwlPay, Clickle, ZiptoPay, and a program first, a hardware wallet called Arculus. All 4 wallets completed their integrations within a single quarter. 2 years into this program, and we're seeing integrations getting more and more streamlined. On the disbursement side, we continue to see increased adoption of the Stellar Disbursement Platform, or SDP, through new institutional users, and innovated on Stellar's capabilities in order to meet the wide landscape of payout needs. To that end, 3 exciting new features were launched for improved onboarding and usability of SDP for any organization looking to leverage bulk payments: known wallet addresses, email registration, and multi-tenancy. The known wallet feature expands the SDP capability and payment to users who have existing wallets. Email registration is an alternative to the typical SMS registration flow, allowing partners to use email addresses as a method to initiate disbursements and the registration flow. And multi-tenancy allows one SDP host to support multiple organizations at the same time without compromising data privacy. This helps us onboard partners faster and ensures a more seamless SDP experience for aid and humanitarian organizations of all sizes and technical capacities. In fact, the UN is set to leverage multi-tenancy to expand their use of the Stellar Disbursement Platform throughout the organization. But undoubtedly, the most exciting news out of Q4 had to be the latest use of SDP within the German government. Late last year, the German Agency for International Cooperation, also known as GIZ, and Geneva-based international organization Union of Medical Care and Relief Organizations, also known as UOSSM, leveraged the Stellar blockchain and SDP to power payroll for hospital employees in northwest Syria. They are now scaling up to more than 700 employees across 7 hospitals. The solution slashed the payment timeframe from more than 2 to 3 months using fiat to just 5.8 seconds for the medical workers, and 100% of the cash outs were successfully processed on the first attempt. Just as we've heard from UNHCR on the opportunity for efficiency, noting that they've saved over 30% in operational costs using blockchain technology in Argentina alone, UOSSM also saw more than 25% savings in administrative time just on the payment processing side. I'll tell you, with numbers like that, it's clear that blockchain has a strong, ongoing, and potentially even critical place in business moving forward. Okay, so now let's move on to investments. It was a strong quarter for SDF on this front. In Q4, we made a $5 million investment in Chipper Cash, which is a financial technology company serving more than 5 million customers across the African continent. Chipper Cash now enables seamless, real-time cash-in and cash-out transactions via MoneyGram agents, powered by the Stellar network. We also made a series of smaller investments through the Matching Fund. Investments in Atlas, a fintech startup that aims to leverage blockchain to streamline rental payments and property management process. Nomix, an end-to-end asset tokenization platform built for traditional finance that can enhance Stellar's tokenization capabilities and grow the total value of tokenized RWAs on the Stellar network. And Alfred, a Latin American payment startup that bridges fiat payment systems to blockchain rails through automation, all strengthen Stellar's position in tokenization and payments. This was a great quarter of investments into new and long-time ecosystem partners to ensure that the network continues to grow in new and meaningful directions. With that, I will turn it over to Jordan for a look at what we achieved under the third North Star.
Thanks, Raj. Q4 was busy, and I'm not even going to talk about Meridian because we covered that in our Q3 call. So let's jump into what we were doing to build a trustworthy technology stack to advance adoption. Now, starting in policy, as Denelle mentioned, Q4 brought big changes in the policy world. Following Meridian, Denelle and Candace Kelly, our Chief Legal Officer, both participated in a range of discussions, roundtables, and meetings around real-world assets and what's next for the industry. Denelle also participated in the Washington Post's live event on the future of money, where she talked about the on-chain effect, which means the real-world impact of on-chain solutions that can have on total economic activity. From there, the policy team went on a whirlwind Q4 tour, attending, moderating, and speaking in more than 10 conferences just in Q4, panels, roundtables, webinars across the US, UK, Europe, and Singapore. And then the team was back in DC when Denelle testified in front of the House Financial Services Committee for Chair McHenry's final hearing. And lastly, Candace then sat down with Superintendent Adrian Harris of the New York Department of Financial Services, the NYDFS, during the Blockchain Association Summit to talk about the role that states play in blockchain, crypto regulation, and the role of stablecoins and New York's leadership in the space to date. And with the shifting winds and sentiment in DC, we anticipate this year will be a very busy one for the policy team and the industry overall. Okay, I know I said I wasn't going to talk about Meridian, but my only quick plug is if you couldn't make it to Meridian or you want to relive the sessions, I really recommend checking out the Meridian Sessions playlist that we have on SDF's YouTube channel. So everything's there. The content is tremendous. Now, in addition to Meridian, the marketing team was also on the road in Q4, traveling and showing up in London and Bangkok and Geneva and Vegas and Prague and more. Now, DevCon in Bangkok, SDF as a whole showed up in a big way. Our Chief Product Officer, Tomer Weller, hit the speaking circuits, speaking at Multi-Chain Day, NEARS Redacted, and more. And then SDF as a whole, we were at a bunch of other events and gatherings around funding the Commons, DuneCon, OpenFi Conference, SheFi, Satora's DeFi Security Summit, with a special talk from Garen Tyson on state archival, which is something we continue to talk about. Now, look, DevCon this year was really a moment, and it was great to be a part of it in such a big way, showing off Stellar Tech and talking about all the opportunities and growth that we see on Stellar. Now, we also continued the Build Better marketing campaign from the summer into Q4, turning it into a call of action for both builders and users to tell us what they want to see from blockchain. The conversation around consumer apps, or the kind of the lack thereof in the industry, hit a fever pitch in 2024, and we wanted to tap into that, encouraging people to share the problems they believe should be addressed and then hand those as inspiration over to builders and developers. And so this crowdsourcing initiative kicked off at DevCon, and we actually just wrapped it up last week, and we got some really incredible submissions. We'll be kicking off a 2-week virtual hackathon next month, and so we'll have more to talk about that in our Q1 report in 3 months. And then last but not least, we ended the year with a bang, launching the first ever Build Better Go-to-Market Summit before the Block's Emergence event in Prague in December. And so this summit brought together Web3 marketing experts, both within SDF and outside, to share practical guidance and insights with developers from the Stellar ecosystem, but also from beyond Stellar. And it just gave projects a front row seat into topics like brand positioning and growth marketing and more from some really the best in the industry. It was a big hit. We got tremendous feedback, and we're working now on how to bring that energy more often and two more projects in 2025. So stay tuned for that. So that's it for me. I'll hand it back to Denelle to give you the first look at the 2025 strategy.
Well, hello, and I'm back. As you know, we'll dig into the 2025 strategy more in Q1 and in the Q1 call, but we wanted to walk you through at a high level where the SDF will focus this year. So 2024 was a big one, as you just heard. And looking back, we can clearly see that 2024 and each year before it provided us with invaluable insights into what it really takes to turn our ambitious mission of creating equitable access to the global financial system into a reality. So these lessons have continually refined our approach, pushing us to think strategically about the work needed for short-term success and the work needed for long-term success. With a network that is feature complete, you like the way that sounds, we are turning our focus to acceleration, scale, and leveraging our competitive advantages to lead the market in everyday financial services. Unlike some of our industry colleagues, we are not searching for product market fit. We already have that. We know exactly what Stellar does best and now have the platform, tools, and infrastructure to deliver the kind of real, tangible economic value to businesses and individuals and for everything that they're looking for. So the network and the ecosystem are ready for greater adoption, and we as the Stellar Development Foundation are here to do our part to help realize this. So guided by our mission and our North Stars, we see our most immediate work focusing on increasing network utilization in 3 core ways. And I've seen some of the questions that have come in during this webinar, and this answers some of our focus area for next year. So first, rank in the top 10 of DeFi. Today, this looks like 1.5 billion in total value locked. It's ambitious, but we have something others don't have. We have 10 years of building reliable financial infrastructure that works for everyday needs. So the second, rank in the top 10 of monthly active addresses to own our position in payments. Stellar was built for making payments better. So while others are catching up, we'll grow by supporting products people actually use, by partnering with companies that move lots of money, and adding new ways for people to use their money. Our goal will be to have 5 million people using Stellar on a monthly basis, with 3 million of those people using it for payments. And then finally, we need to grow the on-chain, we call them RWAs, real world assets, to 3 billion. Success here means bringing more traditional assets into Stellar to strengthen the network and bring utility. This matters because connecting traditional financial infrastructure with digital is where the industry is heading. So the US is ready for major growth in this area, and this is what Stellar does best. If we nail these three objectives, Stellar becomes the network where traditional finance meets innovation, where payments just work, and where assets aren't just tokens, they're actually tools for change. So that's our very ambitious but focused goals for 2025. There's more to come, so look out for the full strategy to publish next week. But let me hand it back to Ellen now for questions.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Danelle. Thanks, everyone, for running us through 2024, Q4, and a little bit of 2025. Okay, as always, this is the time for questions. We have a few already in the hopper, so let me kick it off. Are there plans to reach out to other institutions like Franklin Templeton to help them tokenize stock bonds or money market funds? And I'm going to hand this one over probably to Danelle and Raja to tag team.
Yeah, I mean, so you see that is part of our 2025 focus, and it's one of the 3 top things that we're focused on. There already are other asset managers that are building on Stellar. We have Wisdom Tree, we have ABN AMRO. There's a bunch of others that are building. We want to see more, and a lot of what Raja's team is doing, we have a whole effort that's focused on the RWA piece and tokenized assets. So I don't know, Raja, if you want to say more with respect to that.
Yes, that's absolutely right. I mean, I am really excited about this opportunity. We are having a number of discussions with asset managers, with financial institutions, and we're crossing a number of different asset classes. Notably, we are talking about assets like real estate, we're talking about other alternative asset classes, and really anything that can be tokenized. And notably, we're talking to institutions that sit not just in the United States, but also in Europe and Asia Pacific, and continue to expand as well. And so look forward to seeing a lot more from us as the quarters progress.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, here's the next one. What is Stellar doing with the United Nations, and how is the UN planning to use Stellar blockchain and the payments network? We talked a little bit about this, but Danelle, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, so I mean, I think that we already did go through some of the details here, but the UNHCR has been using the Stellar disbursement platform in Ukraine, and it has expanded into Argentina and Bolivia in 2024. The program has dispersed nearly $5 million to 2,500 households, which is pretty awesome. We'd love to see it, quadruple, and to be able to deliver more payments into these countries. Last week, we announced the latest partnership with our work with the UNDP, the United Nations Development Program, to explore how blockchain can be used in meeting their sustainable development goals and promoting financial access worldwide. Remember, this is payments. So aid and anything affiliated with the disbursement platform is payments. This is what Stellar does exceptionally well, and we've proven it time and time again. And so it's not just the work with the UNHCR and other agencies and other folks that are delivering aid. It's also just the work that we're doing with traditional financial infrastructure to be able to deliver the same value into different parts of the world and for business reasons.
Awesome. Okay, I'm going to hand it over to Justin for this one. What are your plans for growth in markets like India?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, when I think about India specifically, one thing that comes to mind is that electric capital report that I mentioned earlier, where like if you actually look at the number of developers that are building all over the world, the fastest market where more and more developers are actually building blockchain and Web3 applications is in India. And so there's a real opportunity there and one that we're super excited by. There are two main ways that we've been helping to cultivate and support the growth of the developer ecosystem in India. And one is that something that we did a lot last year, we worked with an organization called Ryzen. They have a lot of just like great developers, a whole community, and a lot of just great support for developers, developer advocacy and education and programs that they run. And so, you know, in 2024, they did a lot in India in terms of boot camps, workshops at universities, and also building out courses that were specific to developers in the Indian market, and some of which were available to people all over the world. And so I think, you know, continuing to work with organizations like Ryzen that actually have like a great access to developers there is one way that we can get Stellar in front of a lot more builders and really take advantage of the talent that lives all over the world, but specifically in India. The second thing that's happening in addition to those like sort of partnerships is that we actually just kind of snuck this in at the very end of 2024, and you'll hear a lot more about it next quarterly report. But the Stellar Ambassador Program launched. And this is a program that essentially supports local leaders as they set up, again, like workshops, educational courses, and meetups that really grow local communities and empower them to build on Stellar. And the India chapter of the Stellar Ambassador Program is one of the most active. It has already over 100 members in less than, in like a month of existence. It's put on, I think, 4 or 5 events already in January, and it's continuing to ramp up. And so I think what we'll see is that like by working with organizations that are sort of embedded and working with devs, plus by supporting these like grassroots ambassadors that live in places like India, we'll see a huge groundswell of like people that are building on Stellar, that are building in these emerging markets. And maybe part of what that means is that they will be in touch with like sort of the local needs with local end users. And so I think a lot of what we'll see in terms of products and services being built on Stellar that really serve those emerging markets or just different regions all over the world will be from people that are actually in those regions that understand those problems. And so things like these dev partnerships and the ambassador program will really help turbocharge those solutions getting built.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Justin. I'm gonna give it a little bit of an easy one here, but someone did ask, is the Stellar and MoneyGram partnership still active?
Yes, the Stellar and MoneyGram partnership continues to be active. We see not only has MoneyGram built the MoneyGram Access, which is the usage that everybody that have wallets that are integrated into Stellar can leverage, but it also has its own non-custodial wallet that it is deployed in different countries. The one thing that I will say is that MoneyGram Access has already seen over 28 million processed so far. So it's continuing to grow. It's continuing to improve. The technology is always continuing to improve in terms of the integration points, the mapping functionality with respect to how to find MoneyGram locations. So I'm really excited about this. I still think that this is like the exact thing that we need to be able to do, which is partner with traditional financial infrastructure to deliver even more value to them. They obviously still have the other parts of their business that do not leverage blockchain, but this is a key area of growth for them from a digital standpoint. So I love to see it.
Awesome. Okay, any plans on scaling from the current throughput by 10x to accommodate the massive growth incoming, which we love to hear. Yes, growth coming. You're right.
I can start to answer this one. I think first of all, one really important thing to note is that when you look at the numbers that we shared, like the throughput of Stellar is really, really high. And so there's still a lot of capacity for Stellar to process a lot more growth, a lot more transactions. And so there is headroom, right? In just the existing way that things are, the network can handle higher load. And already as more and more stuff is happening, as more smart contract invocations are added to the network alongside all the classic operations, like the network is performing really, really, really well and has a really high throughput. That said, there are plans underway, like as we sort of mentioned, Protocol 20, which happened last year, launched Soroban. They're now feature complete smart contracts on Stellar. And so a lot of the work that now our sort of Stellar core team does that works on the basic underlying engine that drives the Stellar network, a lot of what they're thinking about now is shifting from thinking about smart contract features, because it's sort of feature complete, to actually thinking about issues like scalability. And if you go right now, we're actually in the process right now of formalizing some of the proposals to add to the next protocol, Protocol 23. And if you go look at what some of those proposals are, the most interesting to me around this is parallelization, which actually allows Stellar, makes use of the sort of modern structure of processing that happens inside of servers to allow not just not single-threaded transactions, the way that Stellar Core operates today, but to actually think of multi-threaded, so it can do more than one thing at once. That will actually help increase the scalability of the network. It'll help it process more transactions. If you want to know about that stuff, all of that development happens in the open. And there are meetings where there's just public discussions where we get into the details about what's happening and get feedback from everyone in the ecosystem about whether the solutions that are being designed actually meet their needs. And the next protocol meeting is on Thursday. So go to the Stellar Dev Discord, go to that meeting, and you will not only know the general answer that I've given, but the very specific details of how these sort of new proposals will increase scalability.
Yeah, and thanks for raising that, Justin. I think it's really great. We build in the open on purpose. There's reasons to build in the open. Number one, it gets the brightest and the best minds out there in the world thinking about the tech stack and making sure that the tech stack has lots of ideation and lots of thought in it. And so it's protected from that standpoint. But we also do build in the open because we love the ideas from the ecosystem. A lot of the work in the early days, for example, clawback functionality that was built into the protocol that's being leveraged by all of these asset issuers that are tokenizing on Stellar, that was functionality that was proposed by the ecosystem. So this is the reason why we want the ecosystem to be super live and the scale point. There's so much headroom already still that exists in the network, and there's some limitation point that can be unlocked. So there's just so much opportunity to scale even what we have in the tech stack, and then to focus on scalability. It is one of the key areas that we focused on, frankly, last year in terms of not just how we thought about Sorbonne, but also Stellar, and also just in the future months. So please pay attention, engage. This is what we want. This is how you create that really vibrant ecosystem that we want to see.
Thanks, Justin. Thanks, Denelle. I'm going to throw this one to Jordan. We have a question asking when the Build Better winners will be announced.
Yeah. We just finished going through all the submissions, and I meant what I said. The quality of the submissions was really incredibly high. Sometimes when you try and ask people what we should build, the old Henry Ford thing is build a faster car, right? But we got some really innovative, creative thinking from the community and from users. And so we're narrowing that down now, and then we'll kick off the virtual hackathon. I'd say, I don't want to overcommit, but it should be within the next week or so, I think. So I would say probably towards the back half of February, we should have winners announced. And again, it was just really, it's just going to be a cool cap to what's been a great campaign, highlighting why we think building on Stellar is a better experience. And we're excited to get the hackathon going. Our DevRel team is ready to get rocking.
Yeah, I will only echo what Jordan just said, which was it was such a fun initiative, and the amount of participation that we got from the community and the ecosystem was really exciting. So we were psyched to do it, and we can't wait to announce the winners. Denelle, I'm going to throw this one to you. Someone's asking, what's the end goal for South America?
Oh my gosh, that's a big question. I mean, the end goal for South America is to have it be all connected in terms of to new financial infrastructure, and to make it seamless and easy, just like the end goal is for every country that we focused on for our mission in every continent. We have a lot of companies that we work with in South America. South America and Latin America are just very interested in new technology, and they're very focused on trying to be able to solve the problems with new technology. That is where Stellar comes in. That is where we see a lot of builders really growing there. You've seen AirTM, which has grown in it substantially over 2024 and is really focused on sort of that last mile and delivering a lot of value to its users. And I love to see what they're doing. I spend a lot of time with them. I think that their growth potential is even larger than just Latin America and South America, and they're really showing that now. We also see Decaf, which we love the Decaf story in terms of not just what they deliver in terms of their tech stack, but also just what they how they position the product. It's a really, really nice way to be able to see the growth that they've had and the focus that they do have on Latin America and South America. And then, of course, Meru. Meru has been one of the largest ones who have delivered so much value into Soraban over 2024. And it's been so fun to see this small company grow so quickly. So I would say that our end goal with South America is to stellarize the whole thing. We would love to see that. Obviously, we want to have interoperability amongst other chains too, but it would be just really cool to see payments and inflows of capital and money into these countries and outflows the same, to make it so that it's seamless for them and they can really like level up in terms of the competition with the rest of the world. So that's what we want to see. And we just want to see real humans impacted positively. But we love these companies that we're working with there.
Thanks, Denelle. Okay, that's it. 10:16. Thank you so much for joining us. I think we just heard our rallying call for 2025. Stellarize it all. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back in at the end of Q1 to talk about what's happening so far in 2025. And of course, all of this webinar, the report will be available online shortly for you all to dig in even deeper. So thanks so much for joining us, and we will see you soon. See you on Twitter, see you in Discord, but we'll see you in Q1. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.